The vehicle heading to the underwater city was a huge, shining golden spaceship. It is shaped like a diamond and is as tall as a 3-story building. It was stored in the basement of Urkatheos.
We will take you to the underwater city in this Adamascus.
Salit, who had arrived on a different D-minder, pointed to the large vehicle and said. Behind Salit were 3 attendants. Salit introduced one of them.
This is Martis, and he will be accompanying you all.
Pleased to meet you.
The man introduced as Martis said expressionlessly and bowed his head. Although slightly shorter than Salit and Nigel, he is slim, has a small face and a model-like figure. His hair, slicked back, was a sparkling silver color. When Martis looked up, his face was as expressionless as ever. After Salit introduced Chris and the others, he led the group into Adamascus. As Salit approached, Adamascus rose silently into the air. It floated about 5 meters and stopped, and then the bottom opened up and a thin disc slowly descended from inside. Urged by Salit, everyone got onto the disc. Once everyone was on board, the disc began to rise on its own. The ship was divided into 3 floors. The lowest floor was the cockpit, and the entire wall of the circular room was a screen. In front of the screen is a control panel and several seats with backrests lined up. It wasn't particularly spacious, but there was nothing else in the room apart from a few potted plants, so it was pretty bare. The second floor was a space for people to rest. The room was divided into 4 sections: a room with a rapumo and a portal, a room with a margarium, that is a physical recovery device similar to an oxygen capsule, and a bedroom and a study. Although each room wasn't particularly large, the floor itself was quite spacious compared to the cockpit below. The last floor was a spacious space with a kitchen, living room, reception area and entertainment space. The walls are entirely made of glass, allowing for a 360-degree view of the surrounding scenery. Bibi was so excited that he ran around Adamascus with gusto. Both Chris and Sana, setting aside their previous worries, were brimming with excitement. The group was led to the reception area, where they sat down on the floating sofa, kutela, as instructed by Salit.
Well then, everyone,
said Salit, who was still standing.
We will now excuse ourselves. Martis will take care for everything from now on. Is there a problem?
Salit said, looking around at everyone. Everyone shook their heads, and Salit nodded in satisfaction.
Well then, let me collect your testic. Please wear this instead,
said one of the attendants as he collected the testics, while the other went around handing out gold rings. A gold collar was distributed for Bibi. Clare exclaimed as she saw the ring she received. Wow, Oramuras, what's that? Just try it on. After putting the collar on Bibi, Chris followed Clare's example and put the ring on the index finger of his right hand. Then, letters appeared everywhere in his vision. Wow, what's this? Looking at Clare, the name, Clare Rarnor Weinberg, is written above her head. Above Sana was displayed her full name, Sana Mitsuki. In addition, the word, kutela, is written on the side of the sofa floating in the air. The floating table has the word, kutensa, written on it. The clothes have, pula, written on them. And the kitchen has various words floating in it, like, alib, and, lakram. Chris, try saying, restaurant, first. Clare called out to Chris, who was looking around. Chris said, restaurant, as instructed. Then, the displayed text instantly disappeared from his view. However, in the corner of his eye, some patterns appeared. It's just like seeing icons on a computer screen. For example, look at me and say, dictictum. Dictictum. When Chris chanted the cantarmel as Clare had instructed, a large image of Clare appeared in Chris' field of vision, with detailed data displayed next to her. Not only the name, but also various data such as age, sex, height, weight, hometown, hobbies. Special skills, family structure, past countries of birth and birth star were displayed.
8,462 years old. Claire, are you that old?
Yes, I am, but that's just assuming time has passed. So it doesn't mean I'm as old as you think. Well then, say restaurant again. Chris did as he was told and returned his vision to normal. Also, for example, there is a map icon in the upper right corner, right? As Claire said, there was a map icon in the upper right corner. Focus your attention on it and say, detectum. Chris did as he was told. He saw a view of themselves riding on Adamasker, looking down from above. When Chris moved his head, the angle of view changed accordingly. Then, say, omnis.
Omnis.
Sana followed suit and chanted next to Chris. Then, a general map of the Teos was displayed. The map was so three-dimensional that it felt like a 3D hologram was floating in front of their eyes. On the map, the current location, Urkatheos, is flashing white. It's like that there are various uses, like being able to view the map, see where everyone is, and stay in touch with each other. Claire explained with a smug look on her face, and Salit seemed impressed.
You know a lot about it.
Yeah, because my dad has it and I've used it a few times.
I see, then, there's no problem.
Salit nodded as if he understood.
But do you have a map of the underwater city?
In response to Sana's question, Salit showed a confident look.
Yes, of course. For security reasons, some areas are hidden. But there are 127 underground cities and 135 underwater cities. And it also contains map data for the main volcanic cities, haze cities, and aerial cities. What's more, the data is set up to be updated automatically.
There are 135 cities? In the undersea world?
Chris couldn't help but ask. Finding the Black Dragon Stone among them is mind-boggling.
Has the city where the Black Dragon Stone is located been identified?
Sana asked. In response to this, Salit shook his head sadly.
What? So, do we have to search each and every one of those 135 cities?
Salit shook his head hurriedly at Sana's disappointment.
Oh, no, we have a rough estimate based on information from the Galactic Federation. We believe that, at most, searching about 3 cities should lead us to it.
Okay, I see.
Chris and Sana looked at each other and sighed in relief.
First, you'll head to Atlias, the largest underwater city in the world. It exists on the ocean floor off the coast of the North Atlantic.
The North Atlantic?
Chris had no idea where that was. It must be very far from Japan. However, he don't even know where the Teos is located in the first place. Anyway, since it's a dimension that doesn't take time, there's no need to think about distance.
We regret that we have been asking you to take on such an important mission without your permission. However, we are extremely grateful for your cooperation.
Salit and his attendants once again bowed deeply.
Also, please keep it confidential that both of you, Chris and Sana, that you are from Surface World. This is to avoid any unnecessary trouble, just in case. However, even so, there is no need to worry, please just relax. Just follow your inner guidance.
With these words, Salit left Adamasker accompanied by Nigel and his attendants. After that, Martis headed to the cockpit, and it got dark outside the window. The lights in the outside space seemed to have been turned off. Inside Adamasker it was still bright.
Would you like to have a meal?
Martis asked Chris as he returned from the cockpit. Chris, who was asked, confirmed with Sana.
I guess I'm okay. I'm not hungry at all.
Sana said, and Chris nodded in agreement and replied to Martis, "We're fine." Martis bowed his head and said, "Certainly." Then he brought water for everyone and placed it on the table without a word.
Have we left already?
Sana asked, picking up the glass that had been placed on the table.
Yes, we have already left the Tios and are riding the waves of space-time. Please wait a while until we arrive at Atlia's.
Oh, I see.
Then Sana turned to Chris and asked, "What should we do?"
Well, first of all, we need to come up with a plan,
said Chris, and Sana agreed.
Anyway, there's too little information, it might be okay if we leave it to Martis. But even Martis doesn't actually know where the Black Dragon Stone is, does he? Even if you are going to be guided, it's an extremely uncertain condition, and it's only a possibility that you will be guided if the timing is right. Besides, there's a possibility that the dark forces have already gotten their hands on it, right?
Sana's opinion totally made sense. Even if they go there, the crystal elements may already be gone, and they will end up wandering aimlessly. Then, Elandra replied reassuringly,
I think there's no need to be worried about. Salit says that when the crystal elements are discovered, a distortion occurs in the Earth's energy that corresponds to each element. The Galactic Federation has not yet confirmed this distortion, so it seems that none of the crystal elements have been discovered yet. So if we hadn't gotten our hands on it when the distortion occurred, the dark forces might have gotten their hands on it.
Elandra nodded at Sana's words.
If any distortion occurs, Salit will contact Martis immediately.
Sana nodded in agreement.
Looks like the only way out is to be guided by that guiding stone, the Rebella piece?
Sana said, looking at the dagger Chris had on his waist. That's right, in that case, we don't need to come up with a plan, Chris said, and Sana shrugged.